Hey everyone, and welcome to the Priv8 Podcast, where we plug in and explore the intersection of privacy, human rights, technology, and democracy. I'm your host, Derek E. Silva, and today another special ETHDenver episode featuring Jordan Wrangle and Matt Snow, both from 1inch, and Tim Carson from Risc Zero. Guys, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Great to
What
be here.
what people don't know is I was running around trying to fill this extra empty podcast booth because why not? And thankfully I was able to run into some familiar faces and some new ones as well who were willing to just leap in like, sure, I'll record a podcast on the fly. Why not? So, um, all right. So it's Friday. I've been here since Sunday already. I feel like I live in Denver now. It's a really nice city though. If I had to pick an American city to live in, Denver's pretty would be up there. Jordan, let's start with you. Like, what have you noticed this week that's kind of trending? ZK everything is definitely a major
Yeah.
trend I've noticed. But what have you seen? What have you heard this week that you think is seems to be on trend?
Definitely a lot of ZK. I was kind of surprised with the amount of compliance projects that were coming up to talk to me.
Okay.
Yeah, get a little closer.
Yeah. So, like, are they talking to you about like 1inch's compliance needs, or like
Um,
what are they trying to get across?
like startup projects that are looking to add a better compliance layer into DeFi, like
Okay.
KYC AML wallets, making a decentralized blacklist actually
Oh,
of people who are not hackers but like a tier like hackers of bad acting states.
okay.
So North Korean hacker wallet list,
Yeah. To
and
the best of our knowledge.
yeah, and she was trying to sorry she was like the value prop was it was like a decentralized blacklist that dApps would be able to cite, and if they wanted to comply on the OFAC sanctions.
Right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. Matt, what about you?
In addition to that stuff, I've heard a lot about account abstraction, and just in general, like improving the whole user experience for Web3 and DeFi in particular. Um, yeah, I mean that's something we're doing at 1inch also, like trying to abstract gas fees from the users who are swapping.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's been a big pain point in the industry for the last couple of years. Actually, pretty much since the inception of the
Pretty
of
much, yeah.
UX
crypto.
is a
Since the first bull market, we're like, oh my God, I'm paying $30 or
Yeah.
$50 to
yeah
deposit money into Aave or a 1inch liquidity pool or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
that
So like
that's come up a lot this
yeah.
week also. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard the phrase get your grandma into DeFi.
Yeah.
Really improve the UX to the point where anyone can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My grandma's not with us, but I like to think I'd like to think she'd give it a shot. If I asked her to give it a shot, she'd probably humor me. But yeah. Uh, Tim, what about you?
Yeah, so kind of reflective maybe of the fact that I work in ZK. ZK has definitely been the theme of my week so far.
Yeah.
Um, but not really ZK specifically, although occasionally, but really I would say compute scaling, which doesn't technically require zero knowledge. But one of the things I've been most excited about this week has been the proliferation of what I would call new types of on-chain gaming experiences that would have been impractical without off-chain compute witnesses of the sort that we can do in zero knowledge.
I haven't actually spoken to them yet, but is that what Game 7 is doing back there? Like they have a big booth, lots of games being demonstrated. I haven't had a chance to actually talk to them though about like why they're here at ETHDenver, or where cryptocurrencies or blockchains or what have you is being used. Matt, you're nodding along.
Oh, I agree, but I haven't had a chance to talk to them either. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go play some video games later and see and pretend that it's work. Good stuff. Um, I mentioned this on the other episode, so I won't go into it. But if you guys want to comment, feel free to. I started out my journey in blockchain like full time with Bloom Protocol, which had the ambition. I'm not sure what they're doing now of building a decentralized identity solution and an alternative credit score.
Oh,
And
cool.
I've spoken with like four or five brand new, never heard of before DID platforms, and I've pushed them really hard to be like, where are you going to succeed? Where Bloom, Civic, BlockPass, et cetera, failed. because I really want to see it succeed. Like, have you spoken to any of them, like Next ID
Uh,
and ZK Pass, ZK Portal?
I haven't spoken to any of them, but it's something this space desperately needs.
Yeah,
DeFi. Right now, it's just kind of. I love DeFi, but anything where you want to take out a loan, it's kind of a glorified pawn shop right now.
yeah.
You have to put up more collateral than you're taking out, and if you,
But you don't have to sell. I'm like, yeah, but the money's
yeah,
locked now.
yeah, it's a pawn shop, really. Yeah.
Right.
So we don't really we don't really have the value prop for people that don't have the capital already right now,
Yeah,
And I think we really need identity and decentralized credit scores, like you said, to get there.
yeah. And I've seen a few attempts at decentralized credit scores. I don't think any of them have really caught on yet, though.
Yeah, that's another big issue, like reputation and credit scores. I mean, even in the realm of like governance, reputation is huge. There's a lot of ways it can be gamed. Um, so yeah, this decentralized identity will be huge in that area too.
Um, I guess this was a surprise announcement yesterday. Vitalik and some other folks announced like a new account abstraction ERC. It's deployed as a contract, so there's no changes needed to the chain. Did you guys know, like, because you were talking about account abstraction, Matt? Like, did you guys know about that? Is that something you're looking at now?
I just heard about it also, like yesterday or the day before. But yeah, we're gonna be heavily looking at that also. I know Safe or Gnosis rebranded it Safe.
Yeah,
They're also heavily investing in that area also. Um, so yeah, that's just the general direction that everything's going. Is like private key management is going to get easier, or just completely abstracted to where you don't have to worry about it. I mean, just from the support perspective, from 1inch, like we see a ton of users who mismanage their keys all the time. Like they lose their key, they come to us. What can you do? Like,
yeah,
can you get my funds back? Like, are they just gone forever?
right.
So that's a huge problem. I mean, especially for newbies, they don't know anything else and they come in and their very first experience is just losing money for basically no reason. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's
um,
unfortunate.
yeah.
That's 4337, right? That ERC, or it was an ERP and now it's an ERC, or I don't really
It's
know.
4-3 something. Yeah, it might be 4-3-7
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Okay.
something along those
Remember, it
lines.
reminded me of Leet Speak back in the day. I think that's how I remember the 4337 part. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Tim, let's start with you. What's been new or surprising this week that like you didn't see coming? Maybe it was the account abstraction ERC, but like yeah, anything new or exciting or unexpected you've seen this week that like you really want to dig into some more, or it's going to take a little while, and when that launches you're going to be really happy about it.
Absolutely everything to do with identity and account abstractions. I think that this is some of the most important stuff taking place in blockchain, really since Satoshi's initial paper, in my opinion. The issues with custody, wallets, secure keys, passwords, these things are outside of blockchain. We would describe these as user hostile, right? These are not things that scream, my parents being excited about using this. The concept of being able to maintain a secret on a time span of 40 or 50 years is something that I think a lot of people who are very passionate in this space, because they're passionate, don't realize how much work they put into that maintenance.
Right.
And I wonder, 10 years on, how many people are still going to be exercising the incredible level of hygiene that people do in this space reliably. So seeing these abstractions and seeing these new technologies and new approaches to being able to help users who, lack recourse if they forget their password, or, if their spouse passes away, or, I mean, there's so many cases where, the not your keys, not your wallet is really just I'm excited to see progress on this problem.
Okay, fair enough.
Also, just one thing to add to that, like they always say, necessity is the mother of invention. And seeing this last year with like the collapse of FTX, all these other centralized custodial companies,
Right.
we're kind of like forced into this position where we have to come up with these solutions for custody of keys, like self-custody and like key
Yeah.
management, all this stuff, because all of these former centralized exchange users have no place to go, like, or they're just forced into this like very rough user experience. So
Yeah.
we're kind of like overnight having to come out with this solution, I guess.
I mean, that was more or less the underlying topic of the song, Jonathan Mann's new song that he had Gabriel Haynes on stage for and a few other people. Unfortunately, I didn't recognize everybody, but like, FSBF, Dokwon, Mashinsky, people like that, and then saying like in the next bull run, we're not going to use centralized exchanges used by bad actors. And I'm like, okay, but like, how do you prevent that? Like,
Yeah.
how do you know? Like, if I decided to go rogue and start a centralized exchange tomorrow, 5 years from now, I might decide I'm gonna rug pull, or I did things poorly and now things are gonna break. It it's not always malintent. It could just be ignorance or accidental,
Yeah.
ignorance. Didn't get enough audits, whatever, and things could still go sideways as a result. Matt, since you're talking, like, is there anything else that you've seen this week that you're like, oh my gosh, did not see that coming? Super excited.
I would say maybe nothing that I didn't see coming, but there has been a lot of talk about like fee revenue generating protocols, particularly like perpetual on-chain perpetual exchanges
Mm.
like GMX and Gains and like there's like a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, Gaines has
Um,
been in the news like all week.
yeah, a lot of people talking about that, a lot of excitement about that. Yeah, I think that's gonna be something that's here to stay, just because it introduces this idea that basically anybody can become part of the house, and like the house always wins, like in gambling situations.
Hmm.
That's, I mean, more or less, I guess you could say like leverage
I
trading is very close to gambling.
Yes, I
So,
certainly consider it that way, but
but
it's not
like,
something I do.
yeah, so like that side of things hasn't really changed. That's not really new, but just the fact that people, even like anybody with any net worth, even like the smallest fish, can participate in a protocol and like become the house. So like the house always wins. They get like a little portion of that. Um, yeah, it's kind of revolutionary in that area because not everyone can just go start up their own casino right now
Thank goodness.
outside of
At
crypto.
least not in this country. Yeah. Jordan, what about you?
Can you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
Yeah, just like what's like new or unexpected that you discovered this week and really piqued your interest.
I mean, you touched on it earlier with the account abstraction release from the Ethereum Foundation. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Okay.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I read the EIP back in the day, but I'm not a developer myself, so I really I'm trying to understand if the user experience is going to immediately be better, or if developers have to incorporate that standard before users see any benefits. Yeah, I'm curious to see how that plays out, really. And I'm going to use this opportunity to kind of talk to other developers who know a lot more than I do. Um, yeah, and get their take on it.
I think, based on what I read, it would enable an Argent wallet type experience, right? That smart contract wallet, so you can protect it with other
Is that the
means.
French Canadian pronunciation there?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the French.
okay. Yeah,
That's the French.
I was pronouncing it wrong the whole time.
Argent is the French
Yeah.
word for money.
Okay.
He's
So
half Canadian too, so you should know that.
I'm fully Canadian, so
Wow.
I guess I do
Oh,
know.
two bald Canadians here.
Yeah,
Dozens of us.
we're multiplying. Dozens of us. But yeah, Argent or Argent, as I'm sure a lot of Americans pronounce it, that type of experience where, yeah, you could just get going and not see that prompt to back up your wallet, your passphrase or your private key. Because as much as I do it, and you guys probably all do it, I don't want my parents to have to worry about that.
Mhm.
And from what I read, I think it was on CoinDesk or Cointelegraph, was that it would enable that type of experience without Argent having to build their own smart
Mhm.
contract and them
Okay.
being in charge of all that infrastructure. Instead, there's this general purpose
Yeah.
contract on chain anybody can tap into and utilize to enable a similar experience.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a lot of devils in the details there, and like you, I'm not a developer, but based on what I read, that would be that type of really smooth, easy experience. Potentially, it could be even subsidized, right?
Mhm.
Especially on a really inexpensive chain, because at the end of the day, it was like, well, this is an ERC. It works on any EVM chain, and so once you deploy the latest version of Ethereum, or copy that over to Avalanche, Polygon, Celo, Gnosis, etc. In theory, any other EVM chain that it wants to be fully compatible should have that soon, and they'll be able to take advantage of it on that particular chain.
Okay, so it's not yet the complete late stage endgame where externally owned addresses and smart contracts are treated completely the same, right? Developers still have
Yeah,
some
no,
work to do on their end. 'Cause I
yeah,
know
like
even now it's hard to use some dApps using a multi-sig wallet like Safe. It
right.
just won't work.
But
We
some
ran into that a couple weeks ago in our DAO, and it was a bummer.
I ran into one that still only supports MetaMask. And
Wow.
no offense to MetaMask, but the mobile app I found really slow on my device. So
Hmm.
I've just kind of given up on it for now and gone to Rainbow. But if there's no Wallet Connect support or Rainbow Kit support, in the DApp, then I'm kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So,
It's kind
or
of
I
an
gotta wait.
industry standard now.
Yeah, and I got to get back to my laptop, which obviously is, it's probably going to result in me just not using it,
Hmm.
at the end of the day. So hopefully more DApp developers, especially on the front end, will think like at least support Wallet Connect, because Wallet Connect is so robust now, and the booth is right in front of us. But Wallet Connect 2.0 has really come a long way, and MetaMask supports Wallet Connect too, so you don't have to just tie into MetaMask. Tim, I know nothing about Risc Zero. Please enlighten me. I don't. The 1 inch guys, do you know anything about Risc Zero yet?
I'm totally
Okay,
ignorant on
good,
that front.
good.
Sorry.
This is your chance to
Okay.
pitch us.
All
Yes.
right. So I'm about to change your life here. So that's where
Please
we're going to
do.
start this. So, Risc Zero publishes an open source zero knowledge virtual machine. It is not a ZK EVM. Instead, it is a ZK Risc-V. So this is a traditional instruction set architecture, which is itself open source and supported by tremendous international industry collaboration in order to build up all the tooling for it, language support, et cetera, so forth. So it's a new ecosystem, but it is moving very fast. So our ZK VM is based on this architecture. I'm just going to cut to the chase about what that gets you. So essentially, with our VM, you can write your software in conventional programming languages, such as Rust, for example, which I'm really excited these days as a conventional language. They have come a long, long way over the last 12 years. You can program in these conventional languages for which there's millions of developers that you can hire worldwide who are already experts in these things. These languages which are supported already by giant companies and open source contributors, and there's a lot going for them. A lot of people would love to use these technologies in blockchain, but for historic reasons, this is not the way that the EVM was designed, and it was never designed with the intent of running those kinds of languages. This is a very different kind of system.
Yeah.
So what Risc Zero provides in our Risc-V based VM is the ability to basically write code that will then interact with blockchains in in ordinary mainstream languages. So we have two products that are available today. One of them is our VM. It's Apache 2 open source. You can grab it. It includes the prover, the verifier, everything that you need. It absolutely works. And then this week we've also released Bonsai, which is our multi-chain proof rollup. I would call it a hub more than an L1, 2, 3, whatever. It's more of a hub. It's not by itself a stateful system. You wouldn't go there and settle transactions on it. But what you can do is use Bonsai to broadcast anything that you can prove computationally, essentially, to Ethereum and the other chains that we're bringing online. What does that get you? Well, this comes back to this whole notion of compute scaling. So one of the demonstrations that we have is actually a central limit order book that allows you to do trading with ERC20 tokens, but which is it runs in zero knowledge and stuff using the Bonsai chain, and as a result, it's actually like affordable to use. Like it's not out as a product yet; it's still in demonstration mode. But you can imagine that the gas savings for users who are actually trying to do trades and update their orders and stuff is the savings is like a factor of 100,000 or something incredible over
Wow.
like the. Well, there's a reason people don't do central limit order books on Ethereum, right? I mean, it's just prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
This is the genius of Uniswap, really, is this beautiful marriage of what's practical on ETH and mathematically what you need in exchange. So this is why this compute scaling thing is so exciting to me. It basically brings in decades of computer science that couldn't really be applied easily for application developers on chain. And we're doing this in a way that, again, we're really focusing on compatibility with all of the popular technology. So we're not throwing away Ethereum, we're not throwing away Rust. We really do envision this world where the boundary between these things is uh, blurred, or maybe in some cases not even present, so that again people will be able to move fast, get their ideas out there, hit contact with the market, respond to feedback, and so that we can really achieve some of these grander visions that I think everyone here at the event is looking forward to in the future.
So maybe it might surprise you, but I have some follow-up questions. Um,
My man.
I mean, I'm not a developer, so I have no opinion on Rust. I do quite like Python because I find it incredibly easy to read.
Absolutely.
I also like PHP, but I don't think that's not fitting in here. It's on the Risc construction set. So, but the Risc construction set that used to power PowerPC CPUs for Apple devices back in the day, right? Like the IBM built ones, and Toshiba I think built Risc-based CPUs as well. So certainly there's a lot of pedigree here. I do know Risc 5 and that it's open source, which is terrific. But like, what sort of programming languages now would somebody be able to bring to the Risc Zero platform and actually like deploy code on? Like, could they bring Python, Java, C++?
Excellent question. Yeah. So today we've really focused on Rust support as our kind of primary target. Yeah, to start somewhere, we started with that. Internally, we're also working on adding support for Go, which will then bring in compatibility with a number of the other, there's a lot of stuff going on in Go near the
Yeah.
chain, right? So we want to be able to interact with all of that. Also in identity, both on and off chain, Go has become a very important language. Um, as for Python, JavaScript, Java, Ruby, Perl,
No Ruby.
PHP,
No
no
Ruby.
Ruby?
No.
All right, that's fine.
I hate Ruby.
Haskell, OCaml. All of these things, we have a clear path to being able to support them. Some of them might already work and just haven't been tried because Risc 5 is a generic target that many things already support. So we are incrementally adding support for all of those languages. Most of it has to do with a lot of the same challenges that the WASM ecosystem encounters. Our environment is very similar to WASM in terms of the things you need to do to support languages. But again, the benefit though of having adopted a standard, like an industry standard processor kind of design, this Risc 5 design, versus inventing our own, is that actually many of those language teams are already just doing that. So it's not on us per se. It's on us to help them. But I
Right.
mean, the effort's already underway, and that's like the case for Go, for instance. I should also mention here that a really important thing that we also have that will be coming out in the next, hopefully the coming quarter, is this really unique feature that we call continuations. And what does continuations do? We can talk another time maybe about how it works, but basically it lets you run a program of arbitrary length and complexity inside our VM, which as far as I know is actually a novel capability. Supernova has something similar, but in the general purpose kind of ZK space, as far as I know, I think that we're going to be the first to actually be able to deliver that, and that's going to make it easy to just sit down and write code in kind of the obvious make it work kind of way without having to be a staff level performance optimizing circuit designer yourself just to be able to make hello world work.
Right.
And there will be some performance overhead to that, but save that for later. You know what I mean, right? Like, get your product out, get some feedback, build
Yeah.
your thing, see how it works.
Optimize it
And
later.
exactly,
Build,
and
iterate, or build, test, iterate.
exactly right. You want to be able to be agile. You want to be able to take advantage of the software practices that take place in other kind of ecosystems. I mean, you mentioned PHP. I've I learned PHP back in like 2001, and it was one of my first languages that I actually shipped product in. One of my friends derisively he calls it the fat crayons of programming. But I mean, I don't know, man. Like I've sold some Andy Warhols in those fat crayons. Like it's a good language. You can move fast. It supports actually shipping stuff and making it happen. So
It's
yeah,
good enough for WordPress. It's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Drupal and God knows how many other, like Laravel is like
Facebook.
taken off in India now. I don't remember his name, but Laracon India, like religious fervor at the most recent Laracon over there. So yes, PHP definitely still has a place. I know there's a lot of jokes about it. People think Ruby has taken over, but like Southwestern Ontario was a big PHP hub for a long time. Like almost every web developer you ever met knew how to code in PHP. So for a variety of reasons, like it was super popular for a little while.
Yeah.
It's fallen into the wayside in favor of a few others, but it's still there. It's still being used by WordPress, and Tumblr apparently has been refactored now in PHP because Automatic owns it. So yeah, it's definitely still around. Matt, Jordan, if you guys have any questions for Tim, please go ahead, and if not, then let's move to 1 inch.
Yeah, and not a developer, but Risc Zero, is it that's the overall project, or is that the layer one or layer two or roll
Great
up?
question.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, excellent question. Right. Yeah. So there's so many names in all this space. So Risc Zero is the company.
Okay,
The virtual machine, we just call it our ZK VM. And
okay.
then this proof multi-chain proof hub service is called Bonsai,
And
Like the tree.
like
okay,
the tree.
yeah.
Oh, like
And
bonsai.
Bonsai, does that have its own set of validators then, or like how is that like
Yeah.
secured?
So excellent question. Yeah. So because Bonsai is fundamentally stateless, all it does is it shares proofs that have been validated, and it proves that they have been validated using a roll-up style approach. Because of this, what's interesting is that you don't actually, it doesn't require a notion of consensus. There's nothing that anyone can disagree on. Like if I've proven that this function returned at this value, then that's just a statement of fact, right? In contrast to a proper L1 where you have like an account store with states and these other things, and people might disagree on the order of
So
transactions.
that's what you were getting at earlier when you said you wouldn't want to make like transactions
That's
on.
right.
It's not
Yeah.
geared towards that. Okay.
Right. So we're not an alternative to Ethereum. We're not an alternative to any chain. We instead see ourselves, and we're not exactly a bridge either, right? We really are trying to be more of a network type component where you can drop the proof into Bonsai, and then it will be verified and then aggregated into, essentially a Bonsai block structure, and then that gets shared to Ethereum and other places where it gets validated on those chains again.
So you touched on bridges there. Could it be used to make more like better bridge infrastructure between like Ethereum and Polygon or yeah?
So yes, absolutely, and I really want to talk to more engineers who are interested in building ZK bridges, because Bonsai it provides a lot of the foundations that are essential for a ZK bridge. However, I'm not looking to compete with my adopters, right? Like, and there are lots of approaches to ZK bridges. I want to see them all, and I want the market to decide what's best. So, with Bonsai, we've tried to design it in such a way that it supports the fundamental data flows that are really essential that everyone's going to have to figure out. It has all the roll-up architecture. These are all just kind of common needs, really, generally, for applying ZK in interesting ways. But again, because it's by itself, it's fundamentally stateless, the third-party developers add value essentially by managing the state for their applications, and that looks like different things for different applications. So for a bridge, for example, you can, for instance, verify, like you can run a validator for some chain inside our VM, and this will prove that the computations are valid, right? So for instance, you can basically do ZK EVM in our system in this style, right? And there are companies doing this. And then once you've done that, you put that in the Bonsai block, then every chain that receives the Bonsai stream at least knows that, hash whatever is semantically a valid block for, say, Ethereum or whatever. Now, that's not enough to know that that's the block that won the consensus, right? It depends on the consensus semantics if that's true. So if it's a proof of work system, no. If it's a proof of stake system, yes, modulo staking. So that's where there's significant protocol work, value add, and in my opinion, more than one good solution that are possible. So we're trying to enable the developers who are going to bring those, user accessible or third-party developer accessible bridging solutions together.
Very cool. I wanted to start like a white paper club this year. So instead of a book club, like a white paper club, I think I think this is gonna have to be the first one because
a good
there's so
idea.
much to unpack here.
It's a good year for it. Like,
Yeah.
The 3-year roadmap here for what's going to happen as a result of the ZK stuff. I'm of course very excited about our technology, but also, in talking to the engineers at Polygon, significant, really inspiring innovation is happening in this space. I understand I have competitors, but I'm just going to be real, right? Like, it's really inspiring to see all the activity that's going on, good ideas coming up from all over the place. I had a conversation with an engineer where they said, hey, we saw that you guys are using such and such field sizes in your VM, and we're going to switch to that. And I came here to tell him that we were thinking about switching to his field size. And so we're getting, and so it's a really, there's a lot of this like really positive kind of stuff going on, but also importantly, we're at this stage where a bunch of problems that need to get solved are ready to get solved.
Yeah.
And just like with account abstraction, which is going to take a few years to be fully adopted into user-facing experiences, I think, just because maturation takes time. We're going to continue to see like a bunch of these kind of tectonic shifts, I think, in how we think about where the data flows. It's going to play so well with account abstractions too. Like account abstractions plus like off-chain compute witnesses is an insanely powerful feature. So, White Paper Club, yeah, let's go.
So we might actually be able to onboard 1 billion users soon with everything working together. That'd be nice.
Think big. I think we can go to 8 billion.
Well, yeah. Well, first of all 8 billion people need internet access.
Yes.
So
Yeah, we're going to hook them up. We're going to make it happen.
That's also a fundamental need, but there are blockchain related projects that could help. Thank you, Tim. I'm sure we'll come back to you before the end of the show, but I want to give Matt and Jordan a chance to inform people a little bit about 1inch. That's like the brand now. There's multiple products, so I don't know who works on which, but like if one of you guys want to start, and then the other one can parry off the other and make sure that we get everything covered here.
Yeah. So I guess just a general start, we can bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
1inch network is, as it says, a network of decentralized protocols that all kind of are interoperable and work together. Just to list them off, we have like an aggregation protocol, which was our bread and butter. That's how the project started. It's built during a hackathon in 2019. It was actually Ethereum New York.
Nice.
And yeah, the aggregation protocol is basically just pulls all the liquidity from the DeFi space, from DEXs, like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, SushiSwap, pulls all the liquidity and puts it in one place. So users can swap tokens and have pretty much the best rate in the entire industry. We also have a fusion protocol, which is brand new, that just came out. And it's kind of like a complement to our, we call it legacy protocol now, the aggregation protocol I just talked about. That's a model where resolvers are actually filling limit orders. So basically, a user can place a trade, and another, like a taker on the other side of the order, will fill the trade and also pay the gas fees. So the user doesn't have to have native tokens in their wallet to do a swap.
Gotcha. So it's a UX improvement. That's really the goal of
it's huge. Yeah.
You don't need the native token in your wallet to trade on 1inch fusion mode. We could take the fees out of the ERC20 token. Also, a big one that we get, question we would get at the booths a lot was, is 1inch MEV resistant? And the answer before was kind of convoluted, because it's like, yeah, if you can go and use BloxRoute or what do you call it? A RPC that has
Flashbots.
Or Flashbots. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Flashbots. But now it's just by default, it's MEV resistant. You're not going to get front run if you're using fusion mode.
Gotcha. Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
There's also a wallet app, right?
Yep. Yeah, we have a wallet app on iOS and Android. We have a huge team working on that.
I mean, like, so it's something I've been really interested in, and like the Cypher wallet down here. There's Magic, which is not really wallets, but it helps onboard users. I'm a little surprised at how competitive the wallet space is. From an outsider's perspective, things seem to be going pretty good for 1inch, and then all of a sudden, ta-da, 1inch wallet. Like, what was the impetus there? Why the need, or like why the desire to launch another wallet?
Go for it, Jordan.
Well, I think a lot of it is getting new users associated with the 1inch brand, since I love Uniswap. Probably most of our volume goes through Uniswap, but it doesn't really make sense for someone to use an individual DEX rather than a DEX aggregator. Of course. You're going to get a better rate on the aggregator.
I only ever use 1inch or Matcha. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to have to hunt. Yeah. I don't want to hunt for the liquidity. Just give it to me.
If you look on Dune, like, more volume goes directly to Uniswap than to 1inch, which really doesn't make sense to us. So I think a lot of it, or I guess the company thinks a lot of it comes down to just Uniswap's brand being out there, the most trusted.
And user interfaces too.
Yeah, it's one of the first apps I used on Ethereum. So we kind of want 1inch to be their portal into DeFi.
Cool. Is there going to be like a code red type team now to like look at this new account abstraction ERC and start implementing it? Like, let's get a new agile project up and running. Let's get a team together.
Yeah. I'm sure it's in the works already.
yeah. I think it's a big deal. I would use my Argent wallet or Argent wallet a lot more if it was just compatible by default with everything. You know,
Yeah.
right now I'm using it with Wallet Connect. I think that's how I use it, and just some apps just they don't work with it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one that, again, no offense to the Argent or Argent team, but like, yeah, I ran into the same thing. And so I'm like, well, if it's I don't want to wait for the uptake. No offense, right? So like I'll just go back to something that works for now, and maybe I'll try it again later, right? Like it's
Hmm.
like I just said, I've moved from MetaMask to Rainbow Wallet recently for a lot of my transactions, especially if I'm mobile, and because it's faster. And when it started out, Rainbow was not good. Like it was super slow. But I tried it again recently. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much better than it was before. Like, and it was actually kind of Rick Burton who reminded me that he actually worked on it. I was like, oh yeah, I should go try it again because I know how much he cares about UX and UI. So yeah, I just kind of rediscovered it. It was sitting on my phone forever, but I just wasn't using it. And so I just kind of rediscovered it. And to the same effect, Coinbase Wallet works really, really well. But for whatever reason, decided to go with their own connection protocol, and so again, it doesn't work everywhere, and it doesn't support Wallet Connect. So it's frustrating to be in this place where like I want to have my corporate wallet in Coinbase and my personal in Rainbow or MetaMask or whatever, and I'm constantly like, it's just not supported. Like, come on.
Yeah, it seems like we're still kind of you see a lot of really cool products coming out and not really building on a standard, or not really coordinating on a standard, and so it kind of silos the user base, which is kind of a bummer, seeing as that like the whole goal, in my view, is kind of like
Interoperability.
modularity, DeFi Lego, and then it's just
Yeah,
like, oh shit, this DApp doesn't work with this one, or yeah.
yeah. Speaking of which, like where does Risc Zero sit in this wallet situation? Is that just not a non-issue because like the Ethereum VM can run inside your ZK VM and stuff like that?
That's exactly right. Yeah,
Okay,
because Bonsai is fundamentally stateless, there was no assets on Bonsai, so
sure.
there isn't a liquidity situation or any of the above.
Okay, good, good. One less problem you have to think about.
Thank goodness.
Good stuff. Okay, I think yeah, we've been sitting here for a little while. I'm glad about that. We were able to get some good discussions in. I I keep forgetting. I'm sure you've told me, but like Jordan, what is your role at 1inch?
I do community and governance at 1inch,
Right.
so yeah, our DAO is actually it's in the best state it's been since it started. Now we are actually seeing a lot of progress go through the DAO.
What sorts of
Uh,
what sorts of things does the DAO like have governance
so
over?
they have complete control over all the protocol revenue. It goes to the DAO treasury,
Okay.
and I know I was listening to Bankless last year, and they said it's it's a bear market when you're kind of ashamed to be in the industry. Um, Cracked me up, but it was just after the whole SBF debacle. I'm actually really proud right now since the DAO voted just last month to donate 100 grand to Turkey earthquake relief efforts, and
Awesome.
it's just yeah, it makes you feel good, seeing people actually because it's their money, it's the
Right.
token holders' money, but they voted to send it out, and
That's
before
awesome.
that they'd only voted to give. They've only spent $6,000 ever before that,
Oh
on
wow.
community
That was a big
incentives. So it was
decision.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. Matt, what's your role at 1inch?
I do sport and community. So,
For a second there, I thought you said sport. I was
oh,
like,
so,
what
so
Spork.
sport? What
sport.
sports?
No,
What sports is 1inch
it's the one
involved
inch
in?
sports.
We actually are involved in MMA. We
We
do.
are actually.
we do.
Yes.
We do. If you write grants to some fighters, sponsored
Yeah,
fighters. Yeah.
Cool.
yeah, we do
Okay.
actually.
And that's also part of the
1 inch
governance.
punch. It's not part of governance. It's from the 1 inch
Not
Foundation.
yet.
That's
Maybe eventually.
what 1 inch comes from. The Bruce Lee
Yes.
1 inch punch. Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
co-founders are huge MMA fans,
So
Yeah.
it's a
kung fu
natural
fans,
fit.
and then MMA. Yeah.
Maybe I could get 1inch to sponsor me, and I'll actually start training to be a UFC fighter.
Nice.
Let's do it. Let's go. Let's get a proposal in the DAO.
And Tim, what's your role with Risk? Sounds like you're fairly technical.
Yeah, yeah, you could say that. Yeah, I'm a principal engineer at Risc Zero.
Awesome. Terrific. Okay, guys. Okay, let's wrap this up. If people want to learn more about 1inch, what's the best website to go to for them to get started?
Just go to the main website, oneinch.io, and yeah,
And find Matt and find Jordan
yeah.
I'd
in the
say
community.
find Balak. in the
Behind the lock.
Discord is probably the best. This guy is
He's
he's
a
a machine.
powerhouse.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, knows
You have
everything.
you have any questions, like he'll get you covered, and he has the fastest response time in the industry.
Terrific. Okay. I don't know, man. I'm pretty fast. Tim, what about Risc Zero? If people want to learn more about everything you guys are building, because it sounds super exciting too.
Yeah, check out our website, risczero.com, risczero.com.
All right, terrific. Guys, thanks so much. Super short notice, but this was fantastic. I'm glad we could get you on the show. And for everybody listening or watching, until next time, as I'm staring at the cameras, stay free.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.